what cool and positive and optimistic shit we might have in the future, long after we're dead. Just how you think the world's gonna look like 1,000 years from now.
Well, I mean, man, 1,000 years is far out.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
tricky enough to predict what's going to happen next year.
Exactly. That's why it's gonna be so bad if we're right about any of this in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring it up in like 1,000 years.
1,000 years. YouTube archives. Of...
Yeah.
Well, I think for starts, we probably won't need to move anywhere. I think.
In what sense?
Like, maybe we'd just be able to shift our consciousness to different locations.
Okay, so you're going like full out.
All right. Full machine hybrid, humans.
Full tinfoil.
So basically our bodies we wouldn't use our bodies for much, you mean? Like we would be able to...
Well, you know the way that data moves today?
Mm-hmm.
It's instant and just can be transferred anywhere in the world. I think that we will be able to do that. Oh, what the hell do I know about 1,000 years' time? But I'm guessing we'll be able to do that because not even just locations, but from synthetic body to body as well. And I'm specific in my wording there.
Yeah. So the other thing that sort of inspired me for this topic was images that were illustrated by people from the 1800s about what the 2000s are going to be like. And there was some like really specific stuff. Like let me just actually bring up some of them.
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah. Thanks, Jamie. So we have like people walking over water being held by balloons, like those balloons that they like hot air balloons, lifting people that can walk on water and like traverse terrain in this way. We also have firefighters that have like a weird, it's sort of like a jetpack, but it's with wings, obviously because they invented the airplane around that time, so everything has wings in those illustrations. So people also commuting with like these sort of winged vehicles, like car-like winged cars, I guess, flying cars. And we also have road that moves. So instead of you walking on a road, the road rotates, like imagine like a running machine, but it's the actual road upon which you walk. So that's how they imagined the 2000s would be like. So in your examples, like Ollie, for example, can you give like a specific thing that you think this like mind transfer would be used for? Like how?
I think that we'll still move, obviously. I'm not saying that we'll be like those WALL-E dystopian fat people in those what do they call those chairs? Mobility scooters. But I mean, when you think about it, physical travel is pretty inefficient. So in terms of like, if we're trying to maximize efficiency, I'd say that physical travel is not up there. So if we can move the same way data moves, or at least give that whatever consciousness is, if we can move that from space to space and not the illusion of it, like the metaverse. I think the metaverse is actually step one in that illusion, and people will probably mistake that for reality at some point and think that the lines are being blurred, and maybe that's how we get to that. But I think moving your actual consciousness is different. It's not just the illusion of it. So, and I think that can be used for anything. So if you wanted to visit a place, go on holiday, maybe you could rent out a different synthetic body or something. Like you go to Japan and you can't be bothered to fly there, so you rent out some custom body and then transfer your consciousness to it.
Right.
That's what
like an anime character body, so you can role play. in Japan.
Yeah. If you're into roleplay, Dave,
Yeah,
carry on.
if that's your thing, they're like, all that's the first thing you thought of, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in your sort of utopia, basically technology is at the center of our lives.
100%.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
probably, yeah.
zero doubt about that. Apart from if there's a giant what's the word? Like a giant
Like a solar flare that fries all of our hardware on Earth.
maybe,
Yeah.
but I just think that it's like we've never reverted back to less technology in history, right? So we've never gone, I need to start using the telegram again, or
Yeah. Wow.
So-
My hot take is exactly the opposite of yours. Then I think our utopias are clashing. So, in my sort of vision for the future, I think so. Technology is still going to be a thing. First of all, I don't think that's like the metaverse and all this bullshit we talk about now, like social media networks and stuff. All of that's going to be gone. That's not here to stay, in my opinion. And I think technology is going to be a lot more invisible, and people would actually revert back to a more natural way of life. I think that at some point we would reach like a saturation point of like how much technology we're consuming. And let me give you a concrete example of what I imagine. Like, I think there's gonna be a lot. So cities are not gonna be a thing, like mega cities, in my sort of imaginary utopia. And because people would obviously be able to do their work from anywhere, which is what we're seeing, like the beginnings of now. And I think people would go back to their not necessarily their roots, but let's say like environments that they more natural environments that they that's evolutionary we prefer. Like I'm talking about basically a lake house with like the lake and mountains surrounding it, and you would live there with your family and community. That's also another thing that's gonna happen, like a lot more emphasis on real world communities versus like online communities, because again, technology is still going to be present, and we'll still be able to connect with everybody we want, but I think that will be sort of a background thing, like the same way now we have let's say the subway or something. It's just there, if people want to use it, they can use it. So I think a lot of the technology we use nowadays that we think is in the data age that is so prevalent, I think it's just going to be there, and people that want to use it will use it. But I think there's going to be like this whole revolution of just going back to just a more natural way of living.
It's way more utopian than my idea.
Yeah, and I think I'm just sensing this trend from now, where there's not a lot of people doing this, but there's definitely a lot of like the stuff we're reading about, like how technology is affecting us badly, which we can do which we can do another episode on. But I think it's just gonna reach like a critical mass at some point, and people are just gonna have enough of it. And
but people are still people, though, right? Like, I'm not saying that those things that you're saying aren't a good idea, because they sound great. Like, ideally, everyone would like to have that lake house, or live in a thriving community, and be popular in that community, and have social groups and stuff. But I'm not sure the reality plays out like that in my view, just because I think people will still be people regardless of the tools that you give them. So I think they'll still want to do certain things. I I think trends catch on incredibly quickly, and people tend to kind of lean towards more materialistic things. So
yes, but that is only in our age. That is only in the age we are now. So in 1,000 years from now, like as you say, like if in your utopia you can like transfer consciousness and stuff like that. Well, yeah, because in the past, like nobody cared. Like, look at this caveman's stick; it's bigger than mine.
I don't know if that's true. Like, look at the ancient Egyptians. They were all about their jewelry, and maybe for slightly different reasons, but they definitely had swag.
Yeah, but it had.
And who's to say this caveman didn't care about their sticks?
Yeah, that's true. But Egyptians' jewelry was very often related to ceremonial rituals and like religion or whatever. It had like a underlying meaning. It wasn't just to like be in a rap video, you know. Like it wasn't like for vanity's sake necessarily. I think that's a very, very new way of going about it. The same way the diamond ring is associated with marriage now when it never was before.
Yeah, the diamond ring thing I agree with, but I'm not sure. I think vanity's always been there because that's the foundation for mating, right? Like you want to find the best mate from a biological perspective. You want to find the right partner, and there's certain traits that the opposite gender will have that are attractive to the other gender, generally speaking.
It's like those birds which have all these colourful plumage, you know. That vanity.
And they dance, like the birds dance for their mates as well. So
yeah, but that is a ritual. That is not a like the jewelry that women would wear. I don't think that's to seduce males or the other way around. It's vanity for vanity's sake. It's not for a purpose. Like the way how we see those birds act in nature is for a purpose. Right?
Yeah, I'm still not sure. Exactly. They might all be for a purpose, right? Like maybe it's all underlying for the sake of finding a partner. Maybe it's all deep rooted somewhere. But like the jewelry thing, I'd assume even in ancient Egyptian times that they would wear them for either to show power or to show where they are in a hierarchy, because you wouldn't have slaves with that type of jewelry, right?
Yeah, that is fine though, because it's within their local community. It's not sort of.
What about the pyramids?
What about them?
That's pretty vain.
Yeah, you could say that they're like the most vain creation in existence.
You die and you have to have a massive pyramid erected in your memory, you know.
Which is now, by today's standards, almost impossible to recreate.
Yeah, it's definitely impossible. Well, like if it's impossible today, hopefully it's going to be impossible in 1,000 years. And I think that people, if we have like this positive trend of like having a more educated population, and if it's actually a utopia and people live together harmoniously, I don't think there's not gonna be a need for any of this shit.
I'd like to agree.
Maybe not.
I really would like to agree, because that sounds like a great place to live, but I'm not sure. And I can only obviously speak from my lived experience, but and that of what I've read of the past, but I just can't see vanity and materialism dying out. I think it will only get worse and worse.
If you look at at which people in society are generally vain, and like not like good people, it's usually not the people that are, well educated and have like a good sort of integration with their local community and have a set of moral rules that they follow. It's usually people that have been either seduced by power or like fill in some sort of, let's take as an example like pop artists, like music artists. So they're just filling a need that there is throughout the global community to see like tits and ass and jewelry and gold in your teeth and stuff like that. But I think that given enough time, 1,000 years perhaps, a lot of the people that like these things would see why there's no need to like them, because it's not real value.
I think the medium will change. Like it won't be makeup and whatever, hair extensions or
what level your metaverse
clothes.
Avatar is.
Well, not
How
just
many
that.
NFTs you have.
I mean,
No,
I think
that's
it'll
in
be
50 years, not 1,000.
That's
It'll
true,
be-
1,000 years, we don't even know.
real customizations to your body. Like you could change the way that you look in an instant. You could make all these modifications without any surgery, perhaps, or I don't know how that would work, but I think it will still be the same strain of vanity, just with different mediums.
It could be. You're leaning very heavily towards the pessimistic version of the future here.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's just what humans have always done. Like, your one obviously sounds great, and I would like to believe that people won't be so vain and have less interest in materialism and things like that in the future. But
yeah,
then I'd ask the question: in your future that you're talking about, will people care about the way people look? For example, if they want to find a partner, or will people care about power or anything like that in this type of future?
If we have reached the point of utopia, I think it's not necessary to think about to have like power struggles and things like this. If we assume that the world is living in harmony, if we assume that everybody has enough to eat, if we assume that everybody has a decent living standard, I think these things that we're seeing today are gonna happen less and less the more that happens.
Probably less. But there's always going to be some people who just want to stir shit up and cause trouble.
Probably, but
whatever society you're in.
Look at how many. So here's my sort of reasoning behind not having as many like power struggles and conflicts. Like, we still have power struggles now and conflicts, but they're way, way, way less than they used to be.
Yeah.
You used to have, like, in the Middle Ages, like a war would break out every 2 years for something, and people would send,
someone
like,
from France said something bad about me. Guess we're going to war again.
Exactly. So
that's it.
It's happening a lot. We're now at a point where obviously it's a assured mutual destruction right now with all the weapons we have. So I think it would either get to a point where nobody has weapons, or everybody has all the weapons, and there's no need to like have there would be no outcome of any conflicts other than everybody loses. So in a utopia, I hope that people would choose the option where everybody wins and just gets rid of anything that can hurt society in some way.
But if the opposition, whoever that might be, to you, just outright obliterates everyone, that there is no winning, like that's just the end, right? So for them, they wouldn't gain anything, which is why I think
But
It's true.
the reason
Yeah.
why anybody would do something like that would again be lack of understanding and lack of just, I wouldn't say poor education, but misguided. Like the same way we have ISIS now. I don't think those people are inherently evil. I just think they've had a really bad sort of the situation in which they have grown up and developed as people, combined with like external problems from outside of where they live just coming to their door. It has resulted in radicalizing. Like that, radicalizing doesn't just happen in a vacuum, is my point. So if we have a vacuum, if we have a society that is well off and everybody's content or has enough to lead a good life, and nobody's sort of left out, I think there wouldn't be shit like this.
But not everyone can have that house by the lake, though. For example, right? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. This is 1,000 years from now in a utopia. Like you guys are talking about dystopias constantly. Like this is not sort of what the topic is about.
So it's only if it's a utopia. But then what if? I mean, let's say population is really high, but everyone. What if everyone's equal? Like as a communist, but not bad kind. Like everyone just gets like a little, like a set-sized flat, and everyone has the same access to everything. And
for example, or maybe even like people wouldn't live in the same way we do now. Maybe people would live together a lot more than we do now. We wouldn't like we wouldn't like, maybe we wouldn't even have property. Like who knows, people would just share the same, like in Mongolian times how they had like a huge ger, and there would be like multiple families living under the same roof and living together as one. The same with the American Native Americans.
I think there'd be like better government provided care, like in the future. Everyone, like, you could literally just do nothing your whole life. It wouldn't really matter because society would be rich enough that you can just sit on your bed and play video games, and you could at least
is that
survive.
utopian though?
I'm not sure that's
if you can survive. I mean if everyone has the right to survive and not be like homeless or whatever, that's utopian.
Like, the thing is,